Seniors, never eat these 3 veggies, but double up on these 3 lifesavers. Senior health. Every morning begins with a quiet test. Before the kettle rattles or the sunlight finds the narrow gap in the curtain, something inside asks a gentle question. Will you rise with ease, or will your knees whisper caution, your ankles measure each step, your heart drum a little louder than you recall? That question is the body tapping the shoulder of the mind, a soft reminder that life still hums through every vessel, muscle, and thought, yet it now needs a little more care, a little more kindness, a little more mindful choice. I come to you today not as a stern judge armed with charts and strict demands, but as a friendly guide at your kitchen table, pouring warm tea, inviting you to glance at what is already on your plate and what might be hiding in plain sight. The path to renewed strength is neither exotic nor costly. It is woven into the humble colors of the market stall, the gentle crunch of garden leaves, the calming scent of soups that once greeted you in childhood. Our shared task is to listen, to notice, to choose with intention. Think of your body as a clever orchestra. Bones are deep drums, steady and grounding. Muscles play bold brass, lifting and moving. The heart is the tireless conductor, waving its baton day and night. When one section misses a note, the melody stumbles. Food is the sheet music they follow. Some pages are crisp and clear, guiding every instrument. Others are smudged, filled with notes that clash, creating fatigue, swelling, restless nights. You may have heard many voices insisting that vegetables can do no wrong. Most of the time that belief serves us well, yet even in the garden there are shadows. Certain plants arrive in lovely disguises, carrying sneaky compounds that bind to minerals, stir hidden inflammation, or invite extra salt to a quiet dinner. The good news is that the remedy grows right beside the troublemaker. For every tricky bite there is a healing crunch, rich with fiber that sweeps trouble away, bursting with nutrients that coax joints, heart, and mind back into smooth harmony. So, while we share this hour, let us slow the breath, loosen the shoulders, and promise ourselves honest attention. We will uncover the small group of vegetables that quietly drain energy and celebrate the vibrant companions that rebuild it. By the final word, you will hold a simple map, drawn not in strict lines but in friendly landmarks, colors to favor, gentle cooking tricks to tame certain irritants, easy ways to double the good without turning every meal into a chemistry lesson. Remember, lasting change does not burst in like a march, it arrives the way dawn colors the horizon, slow yet certain, turning gray into pastel, pastel into full glow. Each mindful choice is a soft brushstroke on that canvas. Miss a stroke, and the picture is still there, waiting for the next sweep. No guilt, only guidance. So take a comforting sip of whatever warm cup rests by your side, feel the floor greet your heels, and with curiosity as our compass, let us begin. Imagine strolling through a bustling market, basket on your arm, the air fragrant with herbs, the stalls glowing with emerald, ruby, and amber produce. A friendly vendor holds out a bunch of crisp leaves and says, with pride, "Good for you, always." You smile, drop them in your basket, and move on, trusting the wisdom that anything green must surely be a blessing. Yet sometimes even the garden can keep small secrets that only patience and a curious mind can uncover. Think back to childhood, when you were warned not to touch nettles because they sting. That same lesson whispers here: a plant can carry both gift and challenge. Within certain popular vegetables hide clever defenses, tiny crystals that cling to calcium, compounds that rouse hidden inflammation, or a quiet flood of salt that the tongue barely notices but the joints remember by morning. These plants do not intend harm, they are simply protecting themselves in the wild. Our task is to recognize when those defenses turn against our own needs. Picture a favorite stew simmering on the stove. The aroma reminds you of family gatherings, warm laughter, gentle comfort. Yet as the spoon circles, it lifts more than flavor. It gathers oxalates that quietly bind the minerals your bones crave, or lectins that nudge the lining of the gut until it grows irritable and leaky. Such troublemakers enter disguised in familiar forms, a bit like a playful grandchild hiding behind a curtain, waiting to jump out. With vegetables, though, the surprise lands inside the bloodstream, not the living room carpet. Let us share a story. A spirited friend loved her daily spinach smoothie, believing it a fountain of youth. For a while she felt light and energized, until creeping stiffness visited her wrists. Tests revealed crystals forming in places they never belonged. The source was not age alone but an overload of oxalates from that cheerful green drink. When she traded the raw leaves for gently steamed kale and added a splash of citrus to lift the iron, her joints slowly released their grip, and the smile returned to her morning routine. The lesson was not to fear spinach forever, only to meet it with preparation and moderation. The same prudence guides us with certain nightshades that ignite hidden sparks in sensitive knees, or jarred pickles whose brine carries more sodium than the sea breeze that touzles seaside hair. In small amounts, most bodies cope and carry on. Yet with time the load grows heavy, like pebbles filling a pocket until every step drags. Awareness is the hand that turns the pocket upside down, letting the pebbles tumble out. Awareness, however, is never about scolding. It is a gentle lantern held low to the ground, lighting the path just enough to see where next to place the foot. In the chapters ahead, that lantern will reveal each culprit in detail, then swing toward the champions that repair and renew. For now, hold this single thought: even the brightest garden offers contrast. Light and shadow dance together. Our role is to invite more light, thank the shadow for its lesson, and step forward with a wiser heart and a lighter stride. Close your eyes and picture a polished pebble dropped into a clear pond. It looks harmless, even pretty, but if pebble after pebble keeps falling, soon the waterline rises and the pond strains against its bank. Oxalate works in much the same quiet way. It is a tiny crystal hidden in certain popular greens, a natural shield the plant uses to keep bugs away. Yet inside the body those crystals behave like eager magnets, reaching for the calcium that bones rely on, the same way small children reach for brightly wrapped candy. When enough magnets gather, they clump, turning smooth flow into rough grit, and sometimes settling in places where silence becomes ache. Think of raw spinach piled in a blender, beet tops shining like jewels in a salad, charred ribbons floating in clear soup. Each mouthful feels virtuous, almost heroic, yet beneath the fresh taste lies that stowaway pebble. The first sip, the second forkful, bring color and crunch. Day after day, though, the crystals begin to stack, and joints that once bent like willow may stiffen like old hinges. In more stubborn moments they travel deeper, forming tiny stones that announce themselves with fire along the lower back. No one blames the spinach. It only followed its nature. Our task is to guide that nature so it serves ours. The remedy is kinder than you might guess. Heat softens the sharp corners, the way sunshine rounds ice into puddles. A slow steam lets oxalate drift into the water, which you then pour away. A toss of creamy yogurt or a crumble of soft cheese onto the still warm greens brings friendly calcium to the scene, letting the magnet find its partner safely in the stomach instead of the kidney. A squeeze of bright lemon persuades iron inside the leaf to step forward, turning potential thief into generous guest. Suddenly the same serving that once robbed the bones now feeds them. Variety keeps the ledger balanced. Swap half the raw spinach for tender lettuce, peppery arugula, or sweet young kale. Rotate colors the way you might change the flowers on the windowsill: emerald one week, ruby the next, deep jade after that. The body loves movement, even on the plate. When a craving for the old favorite strikes, honor it, but invite heat, calcium, and citrus to the table like trusted friends who keep lively conversation polite. Water, too, plays guardian. Picture a gentle stream washing pebbles downstream before they pile. Sip through the day, not in rushed torrents but in steady swallows. Each glass acts like a broom, whisking stray crystals toward the exit sign. Most of all, release fear. The garden is a generous teacher, never a prison guard. By knowing when the lesson ends and the feast begins, you keep every note of the orchestra in tune. Let raw enthusiasm yield to wise preparation, and those once troublesome greens can return to the spotlight as partners in strength rather than pickpockets in disguise. Picture a sun-drenched garden at midsummer. Vines twist upward, heavy with glossy tomatoes that glow like small lanterns. Nearby, an aubergine rests in deep purple stillness, while peppers hang like bright bells, silent yet promising a burst of sweetness. It feels impossible that such beauty could hold a hidden sting, yet the nightshade family has always walked a fine line between nourishment and mischief. Inside these richly colored gifts lives a compound the plant uses as its armor, the way a castle keeps a moat. In most mouths the armor passes without argument, but in others it sparks a quiet rebellion. Joints warm with unseen embers, fingers wake stiff at dawn, knees mutter during the evening news. The body is not angry at the garden, it is asking for a gentler visit, one without the soldier in the seed. The story unfolds like an old folk tale. Long ago travelers noticed that potatoes exposed to sunlight turned green and tasted bitter. They learned that the bitterness signaled trouble, so they stored the tubers in cool darkness. The wisdom remains. Peeling away the green, removing sprouting eyes, and cooking until fork tender softens the defensive shield, much like soaking tired feet in warm water encourages muscles to release. The same gentle strategy helps with tomato sauces and pepper stews. A slow simmer allows heat to tame the prickly compounds, inviting the sweet heart of the vegetable to step forward while the sharp edges melt away. For some, the truce requires a longer pause. A quiet fortnight without nightshades lets joints speak freely. If they grow lighter, you have heard their request. Reintroducing a spoon of tomato soup, a slice of baked aubergine, becomes a friendly conversation rather than a test of endurance. Think of it as leaving a crowded room to catch your breath, then returning for a brief hello, smiling, and stepping out again before the noise thickens. Companionship on the plate matters. A drizzle of golden oil offers soothing balm, curving around the plant armor the way a silk scarf softens a rough collar. Fresh herbs like basil or parsley add gentle whispers of anti-inflammatory calm, turning potential quarrel into polite discussion. A handful of leafy greens beside the roasted pepper provides fiber that escorts any lingering irritants toward the exit. Should the tongue miss the bright pop of tomato or the cheerful crunch of pepper, invite substitutes that mimic their music without the same sharp sword. Roasted carrots bring sunset sweetness to sauces. Butternut cubes blend into soups with velvet warmth. Beet puree deepens color, giving stews a ruby glow that rivals the original. Variety refreshes both body and spirit, sparking curiosity instead of longing. Above all, remember that the garden is a generous friend. It does not punish, it teaches. By listening to its subtler lessons, peel when green appears, cook low and slow, balance bold flavors with gentle allies, you gather the warmth of summer without the hidden thorn. With thoughtful hands and an attentive heart, every meal can remain a celebration rather than a challenge, and the orchestra of bones and muscles will thank you with smoother, steadier applause. Imagine a gentle brook winding through a meadow, clear and lively, carrying morning light on its ripples. Now picture that same brook after a sudden storm, swollen, muddy, pushing against its banks with restless force. Salt works on the body much like that storm. A sprinkle now and then seasons the spirit, brings flavor to memories of shared tables. Yet when hidden salt drifts into soups, pickles, canned harvests, the quiet brook of blood turns brackish and hurried, pressing on delicate vessel walls, urging fluids to linger in ankles, tugging at the engine of the heart, nudging bones to surrender treasured minerals they would rather keep. The garden by itself offers earth's own music without roaring cymbals of added brine. Yet convenience whispers, and bright jars line the shelf, promising ease. A crisp cucumber slumbers in a bath so concentrated even the tongue cannot sense its depth. A handful of shredded cabbage, once light as a breeze, may carry more hidden salt than an entire day's breath of sea air. The taste buds adapt, like city ears tuning out constant traffic, and soon a plain tomato feels dull, bread tasteless, life lacking zest. It is not the fault of the tongue, it has been trained by repetition. Awakening begins with water. A simple rinse under a running tap coaxes excess salt to release its grip, the way rain gently washes dust from leaves. A longer soak in cool water invites even more grains to let go, drifting down the drain unseen. When cooking, choose broth born from simmered vegetables rather than cubes packed with secrecy. Scatter fresh herbs, bright dill, bold rosemary, tender thyme, across the pan, letting their oils dance upward, filling the air with lively scent that tickles the palate without burdening the bloodstream. Consider the warm glow of garlic gently sautéed, the spark of pepper flakes, the mellow depth of caramelized onion. Each offers a path to richness that sidesteps the salt mine. A squeeze of lemon wakes flavors asleep in grains and beans. A drizzle of toasted sesame or walnut oil lays a silky hush over roasted roots. These gifts have no desire to bloat fingers or cloud ankles, they only wish to tell the story of soil and sunshine. Change arrives kindly when invited in small gestures. Replace half the pickled beets with their freshly roasted cousins. Trade canned corn for kernels cut from a cob brushed with fragrant olive and kissed by a skillet. Share a laughter-filled moment grinding herbs with mortar and pestle, the aroma alone sparks anticipation that eclipses craving for the familiar shaker. As days flow, the tongue, once captive to brine, rediscovers the sweet whisper of carrot, the grassy snap of green bean, the gentle earthiness of mushroom. The brook inside clears, ebbing back to graceful pace. Ankles breathe easier in shoes, rings slide comfortably onto fingers, sleep arrives without the midnight call of a pounding pulse. Salt remains a wise elder at the edge of the gathering, acknowledged with gratitude, but no longer steering the feast. In this subtle shift the body hears a promise: storms can pass, banks can mend, clarity can return. All it takes is attentive hands, curious taste, and the quiet courage to let water and herbs lead the song. Picture evening light spilling across a kitchen counter, turning wooden grain to warm honey. The cutting board waits like a blank page, the pot hums a gentle promise, and your hands hover with new intention. Up to now we have spoken of hidden stings, of crystals, soldiers, and secret tides of salt. Now we stand at the open doorway of change, ready to invite balance back to every sip and bite. Healing never barges in with fanfare. It arrives the way spring nudges through soil, first a quiet swelling, then a tender shoot, finally a confident blossom. This moment is the tender shoot. It begins by pausing before the pantry, asking a single kind question: what will make tomorrow's body thank today's choice? The answer is rarely complicated. It is the scent of fresh herbs released under a knife, the steam rising from vegetables kissed by gentle heat, the bright splash of citrus waking a sleepy sauce. Imagine laying out simple bowls, each a different color of earth or sky, and filling them with possibilities. In one, leafy ribbons waiting for a quick steam; in another, chunks of vibrant root eager to soften and sweeten in the oven; in a third, spears of deep green already humming with silent energy. Let your thumb run along the smooth skin of a squash, hear the soft thud of a sweet potato as it lands on the counter, feel the cool snap of broccoli stems. These small senses are where healing first takes shape. Cooking is not a contest but a conversation. A slow simmer offers time for flavors to mingle the way old friends settle into easy laughter. A splash of fragrant oil paints the surface of a pan like morning dew on petals, allowing heat to glide rather than scorch. A sprinkling of seeds near the end adds quiet crunch, reminding teeth and jaws they, too, deserve gentle exercise. When salt beckons from habit, answer with the deeper song of garlic, onion, or ginger, each one capable of lifting taste without burdening blood. While pots murmur, set a chair by the window and breathe with purpose. The rhythm of lungs draws fresh curiosity into the mind. Notice how shoulders lighten when breath lengthens, how thoughts slow enough to taste the aroma curling from the stove. Healing lives not only in nutrients but in the peace that surrounds their arrival. At the table, serve color first, judgment never. If the old favorites appear in smaller portions, greet them like distant cousins, welcome, yet mindful of space. Let each forkful find a moment of gratitude before disappearing. Chew until texture fades to memory, allowing enzymes to weave their quiet magic. Sip water as if it were morning rain, each swallow a soft applause for the orchestra within. When the meal ends, resist tallying wins or losses. Instead, listen. Perhaps ankles feel a little less tight, breath a touch deeper, sleep a shade sweeter. Celebrate those whispers. They are the first petals of spring, proof that gentle attention turns possibility into bloom. Tomorrow, set the table again, and let healing pull up a chair. Imagine a blanket of deep green unfolding across rolling hills, each blade catching the sun and sending it quietly into your hands. That same quiet power lives in the sturdy leaves of kale, collard, and their gentle cousins. They grow with a kind of confidence, roots anchored, stalks upright, veins carrying mineral stories from earth to sky. When such a leaf reaches your plate, it brings that rooted confidence to every corner of the body. Lift a single frond and feel its weight, firm yet flexible, a promise that strength and tenderness can coexist. In the kitchen, a brief dance with steam transforms tough fiber into velvet, coaxing hidden pockets of nourishment to open like small treasure chests. Inside waits a team of guardians. There is calcium ready to settle into bone like fresh mortar, magnesium whispering to weary muscles, and a chorus of antioxidants sweeping through vessels, polishing away the fine dust of everyday strain. Leafy greens speak the language of the heart in more ways than one. Their generous potassium steadies the rhythm of each beat, the way a metronome keeps music on course. Meanwhile, their fiber moves through the digestive garden like a gentle rake, clearing debris, planting seeds for calmer inflammation, melting tension that once clung to joints and ankles. A single bowl might feel delicate on the tongue, yet its influence echoes farther than any loud, flashy snack whose promise fades as quickly as it arrives. Taste loves contrast, so invite a splash of citrus to brighten the green, or a drizzle of nutty oil to soften the edges. These companions unlock iron, send fat-soluble vitamins gliding into the bloodstream, and turn a humble serving into a feast both body and spirit recognize as abundant. Notice how the aroma changes when lemon meets warm leaves, how color deepens as olive oil pools in tiny valleys. That moment of transformation is where healing begins, sight, scent, texture, and hope all meeting in a single breath. For those who feared bitterness in the past, remember that time in the pan is a gifted tailor, trimming harsh notes, stitching sweetness where none seems sown. Even the most skeptical palate can be coaxed into delight by a handful of sautéed garlic or a trace of gentle spice. Variety keeps enthusiasm alive. Shift from kale on Monday to collard on Friday, tuck a leaf of Swiss chard beside roasted roots on Sunday, and the tongue will never tire of discovery. Think of each forkful as a quiet vote for sturdier bones, steadier heartbeat, clearer mind. Over days and weeks those votes count up, casting a landslide in favor of balance. Morning stiffness loosens, evening fatigue lifts, sleep settles more deeply because the orchestra now plays with polished instruments and fresh sheet music. When the plate empties, pause. Listen for the body's subtle applause, a calmer pulse, an easier breath. Know that tomorrow another leaf will be ready, eager to offer its humble, verdant strength. In that ongoing friendship between soil and soul, the leafy champion stands tall, waving you forward to the next nourishing chapter. Picture the glow of sunset captured in a single root, a gentle torch lifted from soil to table. Carrots, sweet potatoes, and their pumpkin cousins carry that ember of evening light in every fiber. Slice one open and you see it immediately, a vivid blaze that promises warmth, vision, and steady courage. They stand without fuss, humble in shape, able to thrive in rough ground, storing quiet strength until the moment you need it most. When the knife touches a sweet potato, it whispers of slow, sustaining energy. Inside reside complex strands of natural sweetness that release their gift like a story told by a patient elder, unhurried, deliberate, leaving no sudden spikes or weary crashes behind. This gradual unfolding feeds muscles through long walks, hearts through thoughtful conversations, minds through late-night reading beneath a dim lamp. Roasting these orange guardians is like kindling a small campfire on a cool evening. Heat turns hard fibers into creamy comfort, coaxing natural sugars to the surface where they caramelize into bronze freckles. At that moment the kitchen fills with an aroma both nostalgic and hopeful, stirring memories of autumn fairs, childhood soups, and safe places. Even the most cautious eater is tempted to taste. Within the glowing flesh hides a pigment that the body transforms into a vitamin cherished by eyes. Imagine sending tiny lanterns along the pathways that support night vision, keeping each step sure when twilight comes. At the same time, potassium lies ready to calm racing pulses, while gentle fibers sweep through the digestive garden, smoothing soil for healthy flora to flourish. Pair the orange root with a drizzle of cold-pressed oil and you unlock secrets that ride those fats directly to cells in need of repair. A sprinkle of cinnamon comforts joints, a pinch of fresh thyme lifts the natural sweetness, and a dot of plain yogurt or tahini adds protein that knits tissue together. These companions do not crowd the star, they simply hold extra torches so the glow spreads farther. For variety, grate raw carrot into morning oats, letting warm grain soften its edges, or blend roasted pumpkin into broth for a velvety sip that soothes tired throats. Even a modest spoonful of mashed sweet potato beside leafy greens turns an ordinary lunch into a symphony of color and texture. The palate rejoices, the mind perceives abundance, and cravings for processed treats fall silent under this honest radiance. After the meal, trace the feeling that lingers. Perhaps joints feel a touch more fluid, or thoughts seem clearer, or eyes adjust without strain as daylight fades. These are whispers of gratitude from within, small acknowledgments that the humble orange guardian has done its quiet work. Place one on tomorrow's countertop and notice how its warm hue invites your hand again. In the simple act of accepting that invitation, you continue weaving steady, glowing threads into the tapestry of your well-being. Envision a misty forest at dawn, every fir and pine standing watch, needles glistening with promise. On the plate that sentinel roll belongs to broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and tender young cabbages. Their color runs so deep it almost shimmers blue, hinting at a strength that hides beneath each tight bud and folded leaf. Break a floret, and you release the crisp scent of fresh rain on stone, a breath that wakes the appetite while whispering of quiet protection. These vegetables grow with astonishing patience. They brave chill winds, drawing minerals upward, weaving them into sturdy stalks and branching crowns. When you invite them into the kitchen, you invite that patient endurance into bones, joints, even the delicate lining of blood vessels. Inside their compact towers lives a kind of gentle alchemy, protective compounds that sweep through the body like forest rangers, spotting stray sparks of inflammation before they ignite, escorting worn molecules to the exit, coaching new cells to grow resilient and calm. Steam transforms the buds into soft emerald clouds, yet keeps their backbone intact, so each bite meets the teeth with confident spring. A quick roast drapes them in bronze edges, coaxing natural sugars to the surface where they sing a hushed caramel tune. Either way, the core remains juicy, delivering fiber that moves through the digestive garden with the steady rhythm of a forest stream, clearing, soothing, feeding helpful flora that stand guard against unwelcome guests. Pair these greens with a squeeze of lemon, and watch brightness bloom across the surface, unlocking hidden iron and coaxing vitamin riches to travel farther. A swirl of mellow olive oil adds silk, carrying fat-loving nutrients to places that thirst for renewal. Sprinkle toasted seeds just before serving, their nutty crunch echoes twigs snapping underfoot on a quiet woodland path, reminding the senses that food is as much about sound and texture as taste. For those who remember childhood plates where broccoli felt stern and cabbage heavy, begin anew. Shred sprouts into ribbons and toss them with a whisper of garlic, or blend roasted florets into a velvety soup that embraces rather than challenges. Let curiosity replace obligation. The forest, after all, invites wandering at your own pace, pausing to admire moss here, catching a shaft of light there. Over time, tendons may greet each stretch with easier grace, morning fog behind the eyes may lift sooner, and evenings may arrive without the weighted sigh of fatigue. These are not miracles shouted from mountaintops, they are steady footfalls on a pine needle path, evidence that the deep green shield is quietly standing guard. When the last bite rests, take a moment to breathe in the faint echo of woodland stillness that lingers on the tongue. Tomorrow, perhaps another crown will find its way to the cutting board, or a different member of the family will unpack its hidden treasures. Each visit strengthens the line of trees around your well-being, a living palisade that grows taller, denser, and kinder with every mindful meal. The lecture lights are fading now, like the amber glow that lingers after a warm sunset, yet the real performance is only beginning. This next chapter unfolds not on paper but in pantries and living room corners, in garden plots and bustling markets, in the small, repeating choices that sketch the outline of every ordinary day. Picture tomorrow's dawn. Sleep loosens its gentle grip, feet find the cool floor, and somewhere nearby a quiet question rises: what story will this plate tell? The reply does not need fanfare. It can be the soft rustle of kale leaves meeting steam, the earthy thud of a sweet potato set upon a cutting board, the snap of broccoli trimmed into bright clusters. These gestures seem tiny, yet they echo loud enough for bones to hear and joints to applaud. Change thrives on rhythm, not revolution. Imagine tying a single bright ribbon to the handle of a cabinet. Each time you reach for a pot, the ribbon flickers, reminding hands to season with fresh herbs before turning to salt, to choose the bottle of fragrant oil before the shaker of processed glaze. One ribbon becomes two. Soon the kitchen hums with gentle cues that steer without scolding. Meals bloom when shared. Invite a friend for a cup of soup gilded with pumpkin's sunset hue, or surprise a grandchild by letting miniature carrots swim beside noodles shaped like tiny stars. Speak of flavor rather than rules, of colors rather than calories. Laughter thawing over steaming bowls is itself a tonic, easing tension from shoulders, setting breath into a slow, satisfying sway. Movement threads through nourishment like stitching through fabric. After lunch, step outside and let ankles test the strength those leafy champions have begun to knit. Notice how the breeze sighs through the chest, how the spine stands just a touch taller. In the evening, lift arms in a gentle arc while sweet potatoes roast, feeling warmth coax muscles open. Let repetition turn these motions into an unspoken promise between body and mind: I will keep you moving, you will keep me curious. When obstacles arrive, and they will, as surely as clouds gather on even the clearest day, welcome them as traveling teachers. A rushed morning may tempt convenience food, an achy knee may whisper excuses to skip the market stroll. Meet each moment with a question, not a reprimand: what is the smallest, kindest choice I can make right now? Sometimes it is as simple as adding a handful of frozen greens to the pot or sipping water before reaching for a sugary treat. Small kindnesses ripple outward, calming the storm before it swells. Evenings invite reflection. Sit by a window holding a mug of herbal tea. Feel the warmth seep into palms, then spread through chest and belly. Scan the day for victories, no matter how modest: an extra forkful of broccoli, a lighter pinch of salt, an honest pause before a second helping. Let gratitude settle where worry once perched. Sleep, when wrapped in such gentle acknowledgement, repairs deeper and rises brighter. Weeks turn to seasons, and without trumpet or drum you may notice the orchestra within playing in serene unison. Shoes lace more easily over ankles no longer swollen, the pulse taps steadier against the wrist, the mind greets puzzles with lively interest instead of fog. These quiet triumphs belong to you and to every leaf, root, and floret that lent its courage along the way. So carry this lantern of knowledge into the pantry, the garden, the heart of each meal. Let its steady glow guide each stir of the spoon, each step of the foot, each beat of hope. Healing is not a destination but a path lit by countless gentle sparks, and tonight you hold a pocket full of them. Scatter them widely. Watch them catch. Listen as the body answers with a song that grows clearer, stronger, and wonderfully your own.